Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be learning Gypsy melody demonstrated by the wonderful Her Mai. Take it away, Mai.
Thank you, Leslie. That was quite nice from across the pond. All right, so we're going to take a look at Gypsy Melody here. And the first thing that I want you to notice is the time signature. The time signature changes as we go through this piece. It starts in common time, but then bar 4, we're in 5/4 time, 5/4 per measure. And then bar 9, we're in 3/4 time. I'll highlight the time signature changes. We start on 4/4, then we go to 5/4, then we go to 3/4, and then we go to 7/8 time, then back to 4/4 time, back to 3/4 time. It's all over the place. Back to 5/4 time. Look at that. And we stay in 5/4 time until we go back to 3/4 time. Actually, here. And then we're back to 4/4 time. Then back to 3/4 time. 5/4 time. See, that was green. 3/4 time. 4/4 time. And back to 5/4. So there you have it. Look at all those key time signature changes, rather. Lots of time signature changes. Okay. So let's talk about how to count in these different time signatures. In 4/4 time, you're just going to count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, pretty standard. When you get to 5/4, you're going to do 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and. Now 5/4 time is always a compound time signature where you have either 3 plus 2 or 2 plus 3, a feeling. And what that means is you're either going to have an accent on beat 3 or an accent on beat 4. You can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right? So there's always an emphasis on 5/4 that falls either on the third or the fourth beat. And we'll see how it works on this. 3/4 time, 1 and 2 and 3 and, because we're going to subdivide this into eighth notes. 7/8 time, we actually count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, where each of those numbers represents an eighth note. Okay, so eighth note is going to still equal the eighth note when you get to the 7/8 bar. Eighth note equals eighth note. Okay, so in this previous measure, where you're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and we get to the 7/8 bar, you smoothly transition to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we don't say seven because that has two syllables, and it just makes things harder. So sev is all you'll say there. Okay, so let's try just those two measures together because that's probably the trickiest transition in this, is going from 3/4 to 7/8. So if you watch me, we're going to clap and count this. Watch me one time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Try that with me. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? And notice how I'm just keeping the pulse, the eighth note pulse, consistent. That's most important. And of course, we'll transition back to the 4/4 measure where we will keep the eighth note also consistent here. It's syncopated, so all of these notes fall on the ands here. Okay. Other than that, the only other tricky thing in this is that you do have some moments of triplets. Okay, so say for example on this bar here, we open with a triplet. I like to write 1-0 let like this is how I like to count my triplets. You can say 1 and if you prefer or any other way. It doesn't really matter. Stay consistent. I like the 1-0 let, 2-0 let, 3-0 let system, and I just write it with a cursive L so that I don't have to write any more than I need to. So 1-0 let 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and. That's how I'd count that measure. We also, if you go down to the next system on the 4/4 bar, we have 2 beats of triplets, actually 3 beats of triplets. So in this bar, we count 1-0 let, 2-0 let, 3-0 let, 4-E and up. Okay? And when you're dealing with measures and rhythms where you alternate between triplets and duple feel or simple feel, it's nice to just have a large beat that you're maintaining. In this case, we want to maintain the quarter note. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 O let 2 O let 3 O let 4 E N O 1. Try with me. 1 O let 2 O let 3 O let 4 E N O 1. Okay? Because oftentimes musicians will mess up the transition going from triplets to a 16th. The easiest thing is to really anchor your feeling to the pulse. Okay, so for this measure, you want to feel the quarter note pulse very strongly. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to go through and do the counting with you. I'm not going to write counting for every measure. You're welcome to write it for every measure if you need, but I am going to write it for some examples, okay? Just because the rhythm here is tricky. So we have a quarter note here, 1, then 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and you can subdivide. So we'll get this motivic element, this rhythmic motif. A motif is just a short thematic idea of 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Okay? And we can even try playing this together. This idea right here with the left hand. So left hand has a B flat and an F. And then comes a B2. So you just have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So very important to count this as you work on it. And you'll notice that this motif actually repeats on the 5/4 measure again. It also comes on beats 2 and 3. So let's take a look at the rhythm on this 5/4 bar. I'll change the colors here to make it easy to see. So 1 and, then 2 and 3 and. Then we have beat 4 here, which is actually going to be a strong beat because the right hand is entering there. So I told you 5/4 can be 3 plus 2 or 2 plus 3. In this case, it's 3 plus 2. So 4 and 5 and. So if you're playing the right hand here by itself, it starts on D flat, goes to an A flat, okay, and then to a G. Okay, so you have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and, like that. And this is pretty easy to put together. The left hand has the B flat F, perfect fifth. Right hand starts on D flat. So we just count it and play it. Ready, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and, like that. Okay? And we will go through this in a little bit more detail after we go through the rhythms. I just want to make sure you understand the rhythms for each of the measures here. Next measure, we're still in 5/4 time. 1 and the left hand also repeats that motif. Okay. Notice the tie that occurs in the right hand. So you do not play this D flat, you just hold it. The next measure repeats the same rhythm from the first 5/4 bar. Another thing to consider is in the first 5/4 bar, the right hand started on D flat, then it went to A flat. In this measure, we start on C sharp and go to G sharp. Guess what? They are enharmonic. They're the same key on the piano. Okay? So it looks different, it isn't different until, of course, here, the F sharp. Okay? All right. So that rhythm is all the same. If we look at measure 8, the rhythm is the same again, so we don't need to go over that. If we go to the 3/4 measure, that's pretty easy. You just need to hold and 3. The 7/8 bar, we hold 5, 6. That's a quarter note there. But still pretty straightforward. Next measure. Syncopated here. So in this 4/4 bar, we want to make sure that you're counting and playing on the ands. So if you clap and count this measure with me, we have 1 and 2, and 3, and 4, and like that. And then we can actually play this, starting with third finger in the right hand on F sharp. So you have 3, 2, 1, 2 like this. Okay? It's just F sharp, E, D, E, and you want to count as you play this. Ready? And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and like that. Okay? Going on. The music repeats. Right? 3/4 bar, same kind of idea. The left hand goes up an octave. We go up to treble clef, so that's something you want to pay attention to, treble clef. But it's still B flat and F, and it still plays on 2 and 3 and. The 5/4 measure, this is identical to what you already had at the very beginning. The difference happens on bar 14. When we do have a triplet here, 1 O let 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and. And notice now that this left hand is late. We have 2 rests here, so this is different. So up until now, the left hand's been playing that motif on the second beat. It's always coming on the second beat. But now on bar 14, it comes on beat 3. So this is really important. Okay, because if you don't pay attention to it, you'll miss it. And then the next bar, we're back to the same idea that we had at the bottom of the first page. So notice anytime you have this triplet figure in the right hand, the left hand comes in on beat 3. So when you have this triplet idea on the downbeat of the right hand, the left hand is delayed by a beat. Rhythms don't change going forward. The 3/4 bar, it's not too bad, but you do want to count it carefully. There is a rest, an eighth rest, so 1 and 2 and 3 and like that. Okay, measure 20, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and. We have a 5/4 bar, which is also syncopated. So here we have these notes landing on all of the ands. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and like that. Okay. The notes are the same as what we had on measure 11, the 4/4 bar. The only difference is you have an additional rest following it. Okay. Then we have 1 and 2 and 3 and. Measure 23. We have an acacciatura, okay, which is a crushed note. You play the F and the E flat very close together. Okay. That's just going to come in on the and. This is syncopated because of this eighth rest. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the last 2 bars, they're pretty straightforward. We have 1 and 2 and 3 and. This actually comes on beat 4, 4 and 5 and. So again, this is 3 plus 2, and then it ends on 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the rhythm here. So this next exercise, what I want you to do is you're going to actually clap and count this entire piece while I play it for you. And I will count it out loud so you can hear it. But I want you to actually clap and count along with me to make sure you understand the rhythm. Here we go. From the beginning. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 4 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Up an octave. 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 1 oh let 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 1 oh let 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 oh let 2 oh let 3 oh let 4 and oh 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and okay. So that we have the rhythm and the demonstration through. I'm going to record a second video so that you don't have to go through this entire first part to do the playing portion of the tutorial. So I'll see you in that.